In On Point 2, we will decode the 2024 Lok Sabha election verdict with Professor K.C. Suri and Professor A.K. Verma, who have authored the book Lok Sabha Elections in India 2024, Mutual Embeddedness of State and National Politics. And now let's take a quick look at the headlines. CJP spokespersons meet Union Minister J.P. Nadda, submit letter of demands including Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation. J.P. Nadda urges protesters to end their sit-in protest. Supreme Court hears plea seeking CBI probe into the Ram Mandir donation case. Chief Justice of India asked whether the SIT could be reconstituted, to which the Solicitor General says that the government has no objection. Tripura Director General of Police Anurag Dhankar found dead at his office at Agartala. Police headquarters preliminary reports suggest that he allegedly died by suicide. Probe underway. And now let's talk about the biggest development of the day. And yes, I'm talking about the protest that has rocked Delhi. Delhi has always been more than the seat of political power. It has been a seat of contestation. It has been the capital of public protest. Though the protests have shifted from Jantar Mantar to Ram Leela Maidan to in old times to Boat Club, but the protests have remained an important element. From Anna Hazare's anti-corruption movement to the Nirbhaya protests, from anti-CAA demonstrations to the farmers' agitation, the streets of national capital have repeatedly become the stage where citizens have challenged governments and demanded change. And history tells us something important. Many of these protests eventually forced governments to respond. The Jan Lokpal movement culminated in Lokpal and Lokayukta's Act. The Nirbhaya protest led to sweeping changes in the criminal law and the creation of a fast-track courts. The year-long farmers' protest ended with the repeal of the 3 farm laws. And now another protest has brought thousands onto the streets. This time the face of the movement is Sonam Wangchuk, who has transformed what began as a student-led campaign into a national debate on accountability. Even as clashes broke out near Parliament and several protesters were detained, the government also opened channels of communication. The delegation of protesters met BJP President J.P. Nadda, former President BJP Nadda, and who sought time to consult the party leadership on their demand, while Union Home Minister Amit Shah also met Education Minister. It has sparked a debate in public. Wangchuk has decided to pursue his fast until youth leaders are allowed to meet the parliamentarians at Sansad Bhavan. He has issued a new letter. Now, there are questions I am posing. And the question is this correct? Should parliamentarians be meeting the boys at Sansad Bhavan? Isn't this an Appian sort of a politics India against corruption? Second, the students want accountability of the ministers fixed. Who decides the accountability? Third, has the government come a notch down by meeting protesters or shown maturity in meeting them? Lastly, what has been the relationship of power with protests post-independence? Was police high-handed while dealing with protesters, or did the protesters run riot? Is the government beginning to engage because it recognizes the legitimacy of the protesters, or they are trying to damage control? Let me play out a couple of political bites, then I go to my 2 esteemed guests and my input editor, and we will have a conversation on it. No debate today, a conversation on it.
जब लाखों लाख और करोड़ों लोग और करोड़ों परिवार इस आंदोलन से जुड़े हों, जिन बच्चों की जान गई उनके प्रति एक शब्द नहीं, श्रद्धांजलि तक नहीं, इससे बड़ा अहंकार क्या हो सकता है सरकार को? और जब बच्चे यहाँ आए हैं, छात्र, नौजवान, युवा जब यहाँ आए हैं और वो चाहते हैं सरकार कोई सुने, सरकार में अहंकार कितना कि सुनना भी नहीं चाहती है। सुनना तो दूर, अगर वो लोकसभा यहाँ तक आना चाहें अपनी बात कहने, तो लाठी और जो अन्याय कर सकते हैं, जो प्रताड़ना दे सकते हैं, वो दे रहे हैं।
I don't understand the spirit in which some of these things are being done. When a non-violent protest is taking place, what is the reason for a lathi? Lathi charge is not an act of non-violence. It is an act of violence. I don't understand the logic of this. And similarly here in Parliament, everyone knows these are burning issues across the country. It would be logical to have a discussion on them. Parliament is supposed to be the place where we can ventilate the voice of the people, the concerns of the people. And once we do that, We all know the government has a majority. As the old saying goes, the opposition must have its say because the government will have its way. They have the majority. But at least let Parliament be a forum where these concerns can be heard, can be truly ventilated and voiced, where various people can represent the views of their constituents.
दिल्ली पुलिस सभी प्रदर्शनकारियों से संयम बरतने और शांति व कानून व्यवस्था बनाए रखने में पुलिस का सहयोग करने की अपील करती है। सभी प्रदर्शनकारियों से अनुरोध है कि वे कृपया शांतिपूर्ण ढंग से प्रदर्शन करें, किसी भी गैरकानूनी या हिंसक गतिविधि में शामिल न हों और ड्यूटी पर तैनात पुलिसकर्मियों द्वारा दिए गए कानूनी निर्देशों का पालन करें। जनता को सलाह दी जाती है कि वे किसी भी सोशल मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से अफवाहों, गलत जानकारी या अपुष्ट जानकारी पर विश्वास न करें और न ही उन्हें फैलाएं। नागरिकों से अनुरोध है कि वे जानकारी के विश्वसनीय स्रोतों पर ही भरोसा करें और शांति, सद्भाव व कानून व्यवस्था बनाए रखने में दिल्ली पुलिस का सहयोग करें।
इनको समझाते बुझाते।
Now let me introduce my guest. I am joined by Dr. Ashwini Kumar, Professor TIS, Rajat Sethi, political analyst, and Brijesh Pandey in studio. There are 5 propositions which I had. The first is, Dr. Kumar.
Yeah. Please.
Wangchuk wants students to go to parliament and meet parliamentarians. Now, it's a very, it reminds me of India against corruption. Is it a viable demand or a non-viable demand? Coupled with the fact that Wangchuk has written a second letter. Do you think that the pause he gave or the amendment he made in which he was asking for the resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan, he came under criticism saying that this is the pipe down? Is it a reasonable pipe down? Or do you think that this is the way Gandhian protests happen all over India whenever they happen?
I think if you look at, particularly this movement, I always consider India, as I remember from my own works, like Global Civil Society and other social movements. What we look at India, I mean, like historically speaking and culturally also, Kartikeji, is a land of, social movements. Mostly, if you look at new social movements, compared to the Gandhian movement against the anti-colonial struggle. So this particular movement, if you want to contextualize, is also significant in terms of millennial and also Gen Z protest movement. So in a way, I would consider, the very fact that Sonam has agreed for democratic dialogue rather than insisting on the resignation, which sounds like coercive, because we have to look at the moral arc, So he has not climbed down, but he has negotiated and calibrated the moral universe of his own, understanding of the social movement and especially civic movement. What is happening right now in Delhi, that this movement, is also speaking to the parliamentarians, political parties, intellectuals, and also the channels, to also articulate the demands of the students. So that's something quite significant. If you look at the students, particularly Karthike, in the recent 2 decades or 3 decades, the voice of the students is rather more like a selfie voice, in the sense of digital movement or like, hashtag movement. So this movement is also trying to look at how, it could also become a horizontal movement in terms of democratic dialogue, in terms of also policy reforms, deep reforms in the education. So it is not just, standard theoretical, movement of the.
Do you call this movement? Okay, let me just break it down to multiple parts. I'm really sorry, but I'll need to do it. You find this movement a genuine movement or a movement by proxies?
So, Karthike, I mean, like every movement, if you look at, in terms of the, background where Sonam comes from, environmental equity and justice. So this movement, we can't call it, non-genuine movement. It's a movement that also speaks, in terms of the peaceful protest, in terms of their willingness to engage with the people in power and also policymakers. So looks like the possibility of deep.
So you're calling it genuine. Reforms. Okay, fair enough. Rajat, is it a first in this government's history where these very powerful men like J.P. Nadda are meeting 2 student protesters. Is it a first, or am I missing the big picture? Rajat.
So it's interesting the way you framed it, that is this the first one. I also think that during the farmers' protest, there was some outreaches which was done through Piyush Goyal ji. I mean, government, you cannot accuse the government saying that they have turned a deaf ear to all protests. In fact, and that's the nature of power. You would allow not an instant reaction, and of course not an instant reaction to somebody pointing gun at your head and trying to coerce you into a decision making. Power structures are not made and designed in a way to get succumbed to every person who is putting pressure and coercion externally, because there are enough checks and balances that are there in a democratic setup. So government would resist responding, but then eventually they will relent and they will have an opening. Now, Gandhiji also believed in struggle, truce and struggle, right? So there has to be a truce period also. You have to allow the government to act. Because if you make it an ego question, I think on the cards we all know, and several reporters were reporting that the cabinet was going to get reshuffled. In all likelihood, maybe Dharmendra Pradhan ji would have lost his job or been transferred to some other ministry. But when you make it an ego question, when you try to give it a political color, then Prime Minister himself thought that it's not the good time to actually go in and do a complete reshuffle. He deferred that entire thing. So see, this... in fact, Mahatma Gandhi was very, he was very sensitive to what is the timing of your struggle and protest. When should you climb down? When should be that truce moment? And when do you rekindle your struggle? So that the end objectives do not lose sight. But here, if the end objective is replaced by political goals and objectives, then the problem and crisis comes in. And I think at a point in time, this was becoming an opposition show. And at the right time, I think Sonam Wangchuk also withdrew and found a natural sort of a crescendo where they could say that, yes, our demands are being heard and let's call it off, which is a smart strategy. Now, whether this protest was legitimate or not, I mean, if there are a group of people who genuinely feel aroused by an issue, and if they're hitting the streets, we have to give credence to it. They may not be the stakeholders of this core issue, but nonetheless, they're on the streets. And as a democracy, we have to listen, and everybody should listen to everybody who is there on the streets.
Okay, so very, very quickly, because you use the word legitimate, do you think it's a genuine protest, or you think that the AAP and Congress, they are provoking this protest?
Again, what is the parameter to measure if it is genuine or not? See, my assessment is that the vocabulary is wrong. Okay. See, this vocabulary of using hunger strike into coercion. I mean, well, Mahatma Gandhi was doing against an adversary. Government today is a representative of the same set of people who are on Jantar Mantar. Therefore, if you start using coercive means like a hunger strike, that vocabulary might be wrong. Okay. So illegitimacy of that comes from there. But again, as I said, it's not like we are all 4 of us sitting here are products of this very education system. So this education system is not everything which is bad about this. Yes, there are issues and there are technical flaws also in this, which I don't understand. And I have gone through IIT JEE ecosystem as well, and those examination leakages and all of that. And it's not like, the anger could not have been vented out in different ways. Instead of using the backdrop of saying Dharmendra Pradhan resign, you could have listed all the 10 policy suggestions that you have in that backdrop. And I would have taken you much more seriously that you want to engage on policy questions.
But you wanted a political I have reserved the toughest question. I have reserved the toughest question for Brijesh. Okay, Brijesh, do you think, and this is really based on what the photos are available. Did you see those? I had covered Parliament attack. I was in the Week magazine. I have covered the drill, real drill that happened in which all the parliamentarians, were, shut inside the house. I also got shut inside the Parliament complex, which subsequently happened a couple of years later. Do you think that was an overreaction in which people were running in with guns inside Parliament, putting it on the QRT, and 2 people standing with those water hoses? What was that? What was that?
I honestly, till now, I have not been able to figure exactly what was that.
You have also covered Parliament for 2 decades? So what was that? Who does that inside Parliament
I think
like that?
It was more for the camera persons inside the Parliament rather than for the real security drill, because I refuse to believe that, that there is not enough security apparatus thrown inside and around Parliament so as to, feel a threat by these protesters who are marching on. I think it would be a massive failure on the part of intelligence and Delhi police, who have not been able to stop these protesters at a much convenient distance, if I may say so. See, the point is, I think, as we were discussing all this issue on Friday also, I think, the big error the government has done is that the government, did not take this protest very seriously. They all felt that this is something which would fizzle out a bit early, like, it won't last more than 10-15 days. And that is the reason, when on Saturday, when Sonam Wangchuk was physically lifted from there and taken to Safdarjung Hospital, this took another turn. And what happened today on the streets of Delhi, in and around Parliament, where, like, the Parliament was barely 100 meters there, Rail Bhavan, PTI building, and press club and all. The visuals didn't do government any good. I think all of it which was done today, like, J.P. Nadda agreeing to meet these protesters and all of that could have easily been done on Friday, and this entire situation could have been diffused on Friday,
do you think
or Thursday or Friday or Saturday.
Do you think that
there was no need for what?
Do you think, sir, there is an attempt to delegitimize the protest by saying that the policemen, they have been hurt, और पत्थर मारे गए हैं, दुकानों में आग लगी है, IPS officers की पिटाई हुई है, और अराजक तत्व घुस गए हैं, और कहीं से खबर आ रही है कि सुना है कुछ बाहरी ताकतें भी involved हैं.
Well,
do you think there's an attempt to build that narrative?
I think from 2013, a new beast has entered into the town, and the beast is more or less egalitarian. It provides both sides equal opportunity to tell it, and that beast is social media. The point is that not everyone is dependent on national TV channels or regional TV channels to present their version of truth. There are thousands and thousands of kids, people on the street who are recording the version. And, if you go by the versions which are recorded there, which we have been showing on our TV channels and all, it is very clear who is using violence and who is not using violence. And I think, it is a usual ploy of anybody in power to discredit any kind of protest which was happening. We saw what happened during the Nirbhaya case. We saw what happened during Anna Hazare Andolan, and we are witnessing what has happened, what is happening during this particular protest as well.
Okay. Now, coming to Dr. Ashwini Kumar, sir, when we look at these visuals, they are happening right in front of the Parliament, the left-hand side, the Press Club, the Shastri Bhavan, the Chelmsford Club. That's the road where the protest really happened, where the real marpeet between the police and the protesters happened. I have a different question for you, sir. My question is, do these protests have the ability to create a policy change, or the India against corruption was an exception in last 30 years, never to have happen again?
Karthikeya, I remember this very well. I was in the crowd of India against corruption, looked at it, written extensively also. And since, we have worked on the people's movement, and from the people's movement, things like RTI, NRGA, Food Security Act, etc., arose in the country and led to the deeper changes in the society and also the way we govern ourselves and our republic. I'm also looking at, this movement particularly, and at this point of time, if you look at, the standard protocols, of the social movement, especially new social movement, I think, it will lead to, certainly, deeper changes. The way I agree with, my younger colleague, is speaking about, as Rajat has been, the way we govern our educational institution, the way we conduct our examinations, etc., bringing out more transparency, more accountability. I see that possibility is there. But on the other hand, in totality, we cannot compare two situations, The movement was very exceptional, and you can see how Aam Aadmi Party has also faltered on the ground in terms of, sustaining that spirit of the social movement. So now looking at what's happening in Delhi, it's certainly, is a millennial
Professor,
and new type movement.
Professor, before I go to Rajat, is it correct that sometimes the most popularly elected government with big mandates can behave undemocratically?
I mean, like, it has happened in the past, if Prakash Narayan is listening to, I mean, like, I don't think that this movement or very similar movements can again, ignite us like JP did, in terms of anti-emergency movement. So certainly, as you always speak about thought leaders and the great leaders like Lohia, JP, etc., perhaps this movement is missing them. But on the other hand, analytically speaking, the spirit of the social movement makes our republic far more healthier and a more humane republic.
Okay, Rajat, going forward with your experience, you have been in campaign advocacy, you have been part of the government. How do you see this episode moving forward? Do you think that the government will demonstrate the elasticity to absorb it, or you think that after a couple of days in itself, they will be shown the place, this far and no further? Because you have been all three places.
See, there are 2-3 things that there is information asymmetry. Government has their intelligence bureau who would potentially be literally scanning everybody who is there and trying to get a sense of what are these external forces, quote unquote, that are active in this. Is there genuine groundswell in terms of protests against them? Or is it just a passing thing where a few disgruntled individuals squelched together and they were able to get their friends and all and hit the streets? Is it limited to that, or is it deeper? That assessment, I'm sure that government would be doing at very, very serious levels and trying to course correct. Now, what does course correction look like, and what should be the timing of that course correction? That, I think, Prime Minister would be reserving for his own wisdom, because he is the one who has consistently shown that that ability to resurrect from a lot of challenges, political challenges that have been thrown at him right from 2014 when the 2015 land acquisition bill being withdrawn, and then subsequently the farmers bill then withdrawn, and even this one. So he has that the agility that is required to stay in power, and I believe he knows what is the right time, how much of credence and value should be attributed to these protests or not. So I will I still feel that it has not reached the level of Nepal or Bangladesh, primarily because in these two cases, it was a collective meltdown of governance all around. It was not just an isolated event. Here, it is one isolated case where, I mean, you can't even compare that to the Anna Hazare movement, because right around that time we had this horrible rape case which had already galvanized people.
Rajat, why it cannot happen in India? The government has a different view. Unka view alag hai, one nation, one election ka. The reason why it cannot happen in this country right now is because BJP has been able to renew its political legitimacy by winning elections. Though they would like to win all elections together, कि एक बार में सब खत्म हो जाए, but the fact that they have been able to smash into TMC bastion in West Bengal, it gives them legitimacy. So sometimes the continuation of state elections actually work in renewing the legitimacy of the governments at center, even when they have not performed, like Haryana. Sudden renewal of legitimacy. West Bengal, sudden renewal of legitimacy. So they can always say, boss, क्या बात कर रहे हो? दिल्ली की protest है. वहाँ तो हम चुनाव हरा के आए हैं ममता बनर्जी को. तो isn't that Brijesh?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So, he made a very important point. Nepal इसलिए नहीं हो सकता क्योंकि legitimacy renew हो जाती है state elections.
There is also another thing, another angle to the protest is that, what happened in Nepal and Bangladesh was that the entire nation erupted. It's not like, the entire country is against Dharmendra.
And politicians ran away.
And politicians ran away. And it's, it's like comparing apple and oranges. I mean, what happened there I honestly can't fathom that can happen in India. Because in India, any government loses that kind of political mandate, the elections are literally, every other year, and you will get a very
we will be in serious trouble. It cannot happen here because then we will be in serious trouble.
Well, serious trouble can happen at any point of time, because I remember one BJP leader very wisely said that, that usually what happens is, like what happened during Anna Hazare and other protests was that it was a coalition government. So there were certain pulls and pressures. But when you have a government which has an absolute mandate, it works completely different. Power has its different metrics, and a very powerful government tends to look at situations completely different. The same BJP who would be criticizing the way Congress handled Anna Hazare is handling the
same thing. That's what I said. Now, the this government does not have a simple majority. But since it has been able to renew the mandate through various assembly elections, it behaves like a government with a simple majority because they have done something impossible, like West Bengal or like Haryana, जहाँ कांग्रेस स्वीप करी थी, वहाँ बीजेपी जीत गई. वेस्ट बंगाल जहाँ इन लोगों ने स्वीप किया था टीएमसी ने, वहाँ फिर ये लोग जीत गए. But anyway, I get your point. No, I get your point, Brijesh. But going back to Professor Ashwini Kumar, sir. Ultimately, any protest can only survive in India when you just don't make it do and die. Gandhi never made his protest do and die. He always, there were always times in which he said, it's over, he goes back. So today, Wangchuk was under criticism. What do you think personally? Is he wrong in taking a pause? Doesn't he hold the right to take a pause?
Let us rethink and reimagine the way we consider the idea of protest. I think, if you look at, the history and culture of this republic, democratic republic, this is also, considered as democratic engagement and negotiation with what I call Rajshahi. So between Rajshahi and Lokshahi, in between that space, what I consider, coalition of democracies. So whether we consider it, because protest, carries the connotation of negativity. But when you look at the moral arc of a person, peacefully fasting unto death, which is certainly, inspired by Hindu, Buddhist and Jainist ideas.
Sir, Indians are very, very flexible. The moral arc you're talking about, yeah. I'm sorry, no pun intended, but Mr. Hazare almost passed himself as another Mahatma Gandhi.
I mean, but Karthike, look at, symbolism, the deep symbolism, that the cultural symbolism. In India, that's where I do not find, but the fact is that if you're using, as Gandhi has been accused or Gandhi has been informed that Bapu, please don't go on fast. To remember, the famous debate between Gandhi and Baba Saheb Ambedkar, So not every time when Gandhi fasted and went on,
that is the first part of the story, but the second part of the story is which Baba Saheb Ambedkar actually said about Gandhi, the way he arm twisted him.
Yeah, indeed. So indeed, so
that is also true, and the words which he chose to use for him.
So what I'm considering, I mean, like, the way, if you look at it as a social movement, if you look at a civic engagement, I think that's a much better conceptualization of what's going on currently. And that is why India can never become Bangladesh. India can never become, Nepal structurally and culturally.
I'm running short of time. 30 seconds to Rajat. Rajat, again, a tough question to you. Going by the way the government has behaved, you expect Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan to be in the same portfolio in this year? Or a different portfolio?
At the choice of Prime Minister Modi, a choice of timing, choice of political timing, I should say, whatever he deems fit, that would be done, not at the beck and call of such protests. These protests, he would say that, it happens, there are enough safety valves in the system. And I also feel our country is in this perfect stable equilibrium of a Brownian motion. In certain cases, you will have people not being happy, but in certain other sections, they would have vented out in the previous election and they're pretty happy. So it net it just cancels out and it points to zero, tends to zero. The law of averages kicks in pretty well in our country.
Okay, thank you. But really, but there is one thing, one thing which I have to say at the end of it, because we have really done this discussion in detail. This protest, we have to understand, is Delhi-centric. It's not a nationwide protest. I think our viewers need to understand that. It's not a pan-national protest. It's not an Indian protest. It's centered in Lutyens, Delhi. But yes, even Anna Hazare protest started in Lutyens, Delhi. I'm not making a comparison, but it's not a nationwide protest. But government must show flexibility and protesters must maintain discipline also. Thank you, all of you, for joining me. This is all I had on point 1, and on point 2, we'll talk about how India voted in 2024 and why it voted like that.
अर्जुन कुछ भी पढ़े मेमोरी में नहीं रहता.
Take a date, not bites. No added sugar, preservative के बिना. Dates, बादाम, पिस्ता, काजू और शहद से तैयार किया गया. Lion Dates Nut Bites.
Lion Date Nut Bites.
Why has Iran stop the traffic in the Strait of Hormuz.
They want to attack us, they want to target us, so we have to defend ourselves.
They are punishing countries outside the region as well, like India and like countries in South and East Asia.
The big problem that they've created now is the closure of the strait.
Ultimately, the main purpose of this exercise is, frankly, to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
Whenever they've got involved in a war on behalf of somebody else, there isn't been just an altruistic purpose.
The 2024 Lok Sabha elections produced one of the most fascinating verdicts in recent political history. The BJP-led NDA returned to power for a third consecutive term, but without a single party majority. The India bloc made significant gains, regional parties continued to shape outcomes, and state-level politics once again influenced the national verdict. But what really explains the 2024 mandate? Was it a national election or was it the sum of 28 different state elections? Why did BJP underperform? A new book, Lok Sabha Elections in India 2024, Mutual Embeddedness of State and National Politics, argues that India's electoral story can only be understood by looking at how national and state politics constantly shape each other. The book focuses on the middle perspective between local and Delhi-centric approach. The book brings together analytical essays from scholars across the country to decode the verdict state by state and explore the larger trends defining Indian democracy. Joining me now are the two editors, Professor K.C. Suri and Professor A.K. Verma, people who understand democracy, elections, and they know how to decode it. The book that they have published, which will officially be part of the, I would say, national narrative, would be available with the viewers, is something on which this conversation is based. So my first question right now, since the election is far and away, is something which the book raises in its preface. The middle perspective between the top-down and bottoms-up. Dr. Anil Verma, first to you, what is that middle perspective between the local and the national?
Thank you, Karthikeya, for inviting us to this show. And normally we have seen that most of the academic writings have either taken a national perspective, that means a centrally dominated perspective, or they have taken a perspective from the bottom down. Bottom up approach they have taken, that every state they have tried to see the entire Lok Sabha election from the state's perspective only. So we were wondering whether they are the right approaches at all, or they are, myopic approaches. And we found, because Professor Suri and me have been working for decades together, and we found that these two approaches, they do not actually explain the diversity, the multicultural context in which the elections are held, the social heterogeneity that we have, the religious that we have, and so many varieties are there. And therefore we thought that to understand this whole thing, why not take a new look at the electoral process at all, and why not understand the Lok Sabha elections in a perspective which is neither state-centric nor central-centric, or national-centric, but it is complementary to each other. And what we found finally, that yes, most of the states, they have been looking at the Lok Sabha elections from their own perspective, and that is how we take a middle position. Neither we are taking a bottom-up approach nor a top-down approach, and that's why we are placing ourselves in the middle position and trying to understand the complementarity of both the state and the national perspectives.
Okay, Professor Suri, before I really get into the nitty-gritties, the questions I have made, your opening comments in the book, did you think that that the 2024 elections were a surprise for many? election results, sir?
Yeah. Thank you, Kartikeji, for having me on your channel. It was surprise for some. It was surprise for some, but it was not surprise for many. So the BJP was expecting that it would come back to power on its own. It was a surprise for the BJP in the sense that, as you said in the beginning, that it did not get majority on its own. And it was a surprise for the India bloc, because India bloc was also expecting that it would get a majority, because generally an incumbent party or incumbent alliance getting a third term is not very usual in electoral politics. So the India bloc people were expecting a kind of anti-incumbency, which did not happen. But I think on the whole, it was not really a surprise, because the tendencies, the electoral and political tendencies that we have been witnessing over the last 2 decades, that is the decline of the Congress and the fragmentation of the regional parties and the bad state of regional parties in the country. I think all these factors are responsible for the kind of outcome that we saw in 2024. In that sense, it was not a surprise to me, at least.
Okay. Dr. Verma, now let's get through the chapters. Why didn't Ayodhya, which is a very big issue for BJP today, was a big matter of achievement then, fail to give them results in Uttar Pradesh?
Kartikeya, Uttar Pradesh has always been a very difficult state to read. And what my understanding of Uttar Pradesh is, and before I answer this question, I'll take you a little back to the studies that we made on the 2024 Lok Sabha election. Actually, we conducted 2 empirical studies, one pre-poll and the other post-poll. And we found that January to March, the studies were pre-poll studies, and April to 1st of June was the post-poll study. And to our utter surprise, there was a 20% decline for the BJP during the campaign period once the election process started. And therefore, we were trying to understand that something has gone terribly, because there was 60% approval rates for the BJP and Prime Minister Modi during January to March. So certainly, till March, there was nothing very serious against the BJP or the Prime Minister so far as the people of Uttar Pradesh were concerned. But the same people have a 20% decline about BJP and Modi. So we inferred that something had seriously gone wrong during the process of campaign. And what we then found is that this 400 par was a major damaging issue for the BJP, because the BJP took it jokingly or lightly probably, but the opposition, you see, utilized this opportunity of 400 par for creating a narrative that they jolly well would have done with 300 par. Why do they want 400 par? And they want 400 par because they want to abolish the constitution and demolish the constitution and abolish reservation. And this narrative impacted a very strong and large segment of the people, because most of the OBCs thought that if the reservation is finished, then they are at loss, and there was a fear psychosis. And the Dalits thought they were also thinking that the Ambedkar's constitution should not be destroyed or demolished. So these 2 chunks which had moved to the BJP for quite some time, they retracted their steps back. And why could they do so? They could do so because there was a very clear-cut option of Congress and Samajwadi Party. There wasn't any other option except Congress and Samajwadi Party. And therefore, this chunk of the social bloc, they lock, stock and barrel moved to the Congress and the Samajwadi Party, and that make it terrible dent. And therefore, we were absolutely not surprised what's going to happen. And so far as the Ayodhya is concerned, Ayodhya has always been voting for, Samajwadi Party and the local constituencies around. And there was some anger in Ayodhya especially because many people, their shops were demolished. Of course, they were paid compensation, but you know how the bureaucracy works and to get the compensation. So all that anger was also, that was a cumulative effect why Ayodhya wasn't an issue, but the Ayodhya seat was lost by the BJP.
But it also had an effect on the Prime Minister's constituency also. Were you able to get a sense of it, that it would affect a constituency of a VVIP, Professor Suri?
Are you talking about Ayodhya?
No, I'm talking about Banaras, Varanasi.
Okay, yeah. But you see, Ayodhya, I think, is a kind of a symbol of a larger political process that has been underway in the country. And I think once Ayodhya temple was built and the controversy was resolved to a large extent and came to a closure, I think that would not have big impact on the electoral behavior. I think that's the reason why we see that the kind of forging unity around a particular religious identity will have only effect for a limited time, right? And you cannot expect that to continue for a very, very long time. And also there are several other factors that play out in the electoral domain. It's not just one factor. So there are also the factors of caste identities, the regional identities, and the alliances. I think what happened in Benares again, the vote for the BJP came down, or the Prime Ministerial for Narendra Modi, because of what was happening at the constituency level. I think all these factors, both the decline of the impact of the Ayodhya factor, and as Dr. Verma was saying, that there were other factors about the fears that were aroused about the constitution, about the continuation of reservations, and about the kind of alliances that were forged at the state level. For example, we are told that our chapter on UP tells, Dr. Verma wrote that piece on Uttar Pradesh, that basically it was a decline in the vote among the Dalit voters that contributed to a substantial decline of the BJP vote in Uttar Pradesh. That was a kind of state level phenomenon that happened. I think there are state level factors, and there are certain narratives, as Dr. Verma was saying, that were promoted or that were constructed during the time of election campaign that resulted in the fall of the vote for the BJP in Varanasi.
Okay. Dr. Verma, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu and Haryana. West Bengal, Tamil Nadu and Haryana. They behaved in a way in 2024 and very subsequently in assembly elections. I know I'm talking about a hindsight sort of a question because you have deciphered the mandate of 2024, but those states behaved very differently when it came to assembly elections. What do you call that in your language, in psephology, political science? How do you decipher this movement?
I think this is a very, very interesting question. And these states, they were quite enigmatic in 2026 elections or thereafter, whenever the elections happened over there. And everybody was surprised. For example, Tamil Nadu, you were talking about. But if you look at the Tamil Nadu tendency of too much focusing on the state identity, language issue, and regionalism, etc., you will find that the decline had already started in 2019. Because if you read the Tamil Nadu chapter, you will find that already the vote share of regional parties was showing a decline, a very substantial decline. Earlier, they used national parties together, regional parties together, they used to poll around 80 to 85% votes here over there. But in the 2019 election, you will find that the trend was already visible and their decline was they came up to 70%. So there was already a 50% decline for the ADMK and DMK combined together. And that's why when Vijay comes in earlier, the stage was actually being set for a non-rigid, not, of course, there was a Tamil identity, but he wasn't that communal, he wasn't that arrogant, he wasn't that anti-Hindu and all that. And that's why we could see that something very suddenly, of course, it would have gone to the AIDMK if the AIDMK would have been strong, Jayalalitha would have been there. But because after the decline of Jayalalitha, the AIDMK was actually on the decline. So the people understood they wanted to change Stalin, they wanted to change DMK, but they had no other option. In the meanwhile, Vijay's party comes in and captures the whole thing. And Tamil Nadu history, as you know very well, that the cine stars they have been the leading politicians in Tamil Nadu and some other states also. So that is one thing. But Ed, what the question that you raised is that's why we call that there isn't any fixity between the state and the national electoral process. They are kaleidoscopic, there is a kaleidoscopic variation. Once you remove a kaleidoscope a little bit, you find a finite type of a different, but that is actually very different. So what's happening in West Bengal was, West Bengal is strange. 30 years for Congress, 36 years for CPM, 15 years for Mamata Banerjee. So the people of West Bengal seem to experiment with a particular ideology for a very long time probably, and now it's the turn of the right. And probably that's why I suspect that the right is going to stay for a very long time in West Bengal too. So whether it is Tamil Nadu or whether it is West Bengal or whether it is any other state, that's why the Indian national elections, they are very difficult to predict, and we should always be prepared for some, very surprise results. And one surprise result was Uttar Pradesh, another surprise result was Maharashtra, yet another surprise result was Haryana, and that made a lot of difference for the incumbent government at the national level.
Absolutely.
So that's
absolutely, sir. But there was also another surprise, though that surprise has also been reset by the recent victory of Bharatiya Janata Party. Professor Suri, that is Northeast. In some constituencies, the Congress candidate won by more than 10 lakh votes. But then again, BJP has swept to power. So, keeping in mind 2024, are we here to say that Northeast, which was part and parcel of the Congress-led system, has become part of a BJP-led system? It is not an exception to national politics. India's Northeast.
Yeah. I think Northeast presents as a major riddle in Indian politics. It is culturally very diverse. Although we call it the Northeast, Northeast itself is an agglomeration of many peoples in terms of ethnicity, in terms of religion, in terms of even political affiliation. So for a long time, we thought that Northeast was different from what we call the mainland India. But as you rightly observed, that I think Northeast is also moving along now with the rest of India. In that sense, Northeast electoral system is getting, in a way, less and less regional and more national. I think that's the broad tendency, whether it is BJP or earlier it was Congress, or now the competition is primarily between the BJP and the Congress, with some regional parties still playing some significant role in some states. But broadly, the electoral competition is now between BJP and its allies and Congress and its allies. So we have what today in the Northeast, a kind of a bi-party or binodal party system that we saw in rest of India emerging some 20 years ago. I think increasingly the Northeast we see is a kind of replicating a political process that we saw all over India for the last 20 years.
Dr. Verma, the chapter says, which I'm very keen to understand from you, though written by Mr. Satpathy, 15th, Odisha, the BJP swings a surprise. Was it in making because the vote of the Congress party was like stagnant at a single digit for last 15 years, and it was creating a space for a challenger? Why did that shift happen? Because Odisha played a pivotal role in buffering BJP, or else BJP would have been in real hot waters.
Very true, Kartikeya. Odisha was really, like Uttar Pradesh, it was a surprise to me also, because Odisha had a long history of, where a regional party was entrenched for a very long time. And but you see, Kartikeya, in any state, in any political system, there are things which people keep on tolerating and tolerating and tolerating, like in West Bengal, like in Odisha. And when, जैसे कहते हैं ना कि पानी ऊपर सर के ऊपर से बह रहा है, so when it becomes absolutely intolerable, then people of India have a tendency to react in a very, united way. The way Bengal people reacted, the way Odisha people reacted was unbelievable. Nobody thought that such a thing would happen. And that's why when there is a rejection of an incumbent government lock, stock and barrel, you are forced to think of the deeper reasons why there was such a, homogenization of the voting behavior of the people. Because they threw an entire government which was, entrenched there for a very long time, whether it be Bengal or whether it be, of course, Tamil Nadu was on the two elections on peak. But this was a long case, 3 elections in West Bengal and so many elections in Odisha. So the thing was that ultimately the chief minister was getting distanced from the people. Some people have captured the entire administration, and not only administration but also the political decision-making process. And that you know very well, more than me probably.
Mr.
It had
Pandey.
appeared so much, appeared so much in the national media and all. So all those things people were tolerating, and you know what happens when such a one person becomes politically and administratively dominant? Then lot many aberrations, lot many bad tendencies, they become writ large, and they become so writ large, nobody can ignore that. And that's what's happening in Odisha. That in Odisha, of course, I would not say that it only happened because of those tendencies. The BJP, like in Bengal, if you remember, Bengal from 400 shakhas, they have reached to 5,000 shakhas. So the RSS was also working over there. The same was happening in Odisha. In Odisha also the BJP cadre, the RSS cadre were working very hard. So the organizational, penetration was also there in both West Bengal and Odisha. Everywhere that penetration was there, and that penetration was lacking in Uttar Pradesh. Because of that Nadda statement, if you remember, that we don't need the BJP, we are the largest party in the world. So all that and that was very easily, manipulated by Congress and Akhilesh over here, and that's why the RSS worker became indolent here in Uttar Pradesh, and the BJP had to suffer a lot. But there the thing was differently going on, and that's why the BJP's hard work, the corruption entrenched in the Odisha administration and political domains, the outsourcing of decision-making process to a bureaucrat, all those things the people were now not ready to tolerate, and that's why they were the complete.
Dr. Verma, tell me one thing. Last 2024 election was something in which the civilizational state and India being union of state was part and parcel of the language. What did you, in the course of writing this book, discover? Is India a civilizational state, or is it a union of states? What did you discover when you were compiling the entire data, sir?
Kartikeya, very difficult to say either our position. We cannot take a binary this or that. It's actually a mix of both. And of course, we cannot completely reject one and the other. And that's why we say that we are taking a middle position. We are neither accepting this nor accepting that. We are not taking sides with any established, framework of analyzing the Lok Sabha elections, etc. And that's why we call mutual embeddedness. It wasn't civilizational also, and it was that also. So that there was an amalgamation of the union of it. We have clearly stated in our book. If you read the book, we have clearly stated in our book that the elections were, happening as a union of India and not as a sporadic states. So the civilization part was there. That is the overarching thing. But at the same time, there was a state assertion also, and we respect all that. And probably you will, if you read the book, had time to read the book, you will realize that our approach was to make the book, number one, bereft of any, what we call academic bulldozing, if I say. There wasn't any academic bulldozing from the editor's side. And there the book stands sharply in contradiction to the previous volume that we have been studying, that usually the editors develop a framework and then they try to, they warrant each and every author to abide by that framework and write their chapters accordingly. But thanks to Professor Suri and my other colleagues who is not able to join us, that we allowed the state writers, authors, complete freedom. And when all the essays were collected, then we could realize, then this framework was developed, that this entire book is not a monolithic framework working over there, but it has evolved from the writings of the authors.
One last question for Professor Suri. Do you think that South is a barrier for Bharatiya Janata Party? Keeping in mind the sort of verdict that was thrown in 2024, and also keeping in mind that the BJP failed in Tamil Nadu elections also.
What's the question again, please? Can you go on?
Is South India a barrier for Bharatiya Janata Party?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's a barrier, but one thing becomes clear, that whereas BJP could expand in regions where it was not very strong before, for example, the question you were asking about Odisha, BJP could expand in Odisha, BJP could expand in West Bengal and in northeastern states, and it could also expand to, of course it was there in Maharashtra and Gujarat, but it could consolidate itself in these western states. Only in South, it is finding difficult to expand and to consolidate. I think it is facing some kind of difficulties in the sense that the narrative that the BJP has constructed over the years, somehow it is not able to use the word sell in South Indian states effectively, probably because the South Indian states, one, they are more secularized in the sense that there has been accommodation of multiple social groups in the structures of economic and political power. And also we have seen in terms of politics, there has been greater mobilization of the backward classes into politics over several decades, which did not happen in states like, say, Odisha or West Bengal or some other states where BJP could quickly expand. So actually in states like Kerala or Karnataka or Tamil Nadu, or even to a large extent in Andhra and Telangana, the backward classes of people, who one would call backward class in other states, they already have a substantial position in both economic and political structures of power. I think that in that sense, I'm talking of secularization of politics. I think that BJP requires a slightly different strategy if it wants to expand in the southern states.
Okay, I really run short of time. Maybe, you could have had a longer a discussion on it. But congratulations to both of you for writing this Lok Sabha election India 2024 book. I'm really looking forward to read it in the detail. But 2024 was a surprise to many, sir. The results, the voting pattern, the way different states behaved, it revived, and sorry to use the word, almost a dead opposition in the country. So it not only gifted a stable government, but it also gave us a muscular opposition. So I would say that 2024 Lok Sabha election was indeed a good election for Indian democracy, you know. In a way, a stable government and an opposition also, which was like negligible in 2014 and in a very poor shape in 2019. I wish you good luck, and
Absolutely. We agree with you.
And I thank both of you for sharing your thoughts on the book with me.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News 9, English news as it should be.
Hello there, thanks for tuning in to your favorite news destination. This is a special broadcast because what happened last night was nothing less than a very historic moment. You had the passing of the torch, as it were, that took place right there in New York, New Jersey. This special segment is going to focus only on the Spanish Armada's conquering of the world. We'll talk about how this is could be Lionel Messi's last dance and what does this mean for world football. We'll decode every phase of the game. Why was it such a lackluster performance? Did Scaloni's substitutions not give in? Because every World Cup and the final particularly, it promises history. And very few, however, deliver a performance that feels like a culmination of an idea that has been years in the making. Today is going to be about one of those nights on that grand stage. 16 years after a generation led by Xavi, Iniesta, Casillas, Sergio Ramos, Jesus Navas, by the way, David Villa, they were all sitting in the stadium. They collectively changed the way the world looked at football. Spain have climbed back to the summit of the game once again. Another star on their jerseys. And they are world champions once again, not by abandoning their identity, but by trusting it completely, bringing it to the fore yet again. This was a victory that was built on patience, on precision, complete control against the defending champions. And you have the likes of magical Messi on the other side as well. 1-0 was the score, 105th minute goal that was scored by Ferran Torres, 90 plus 3rd minute red card for Enzo Fernandez that rendered the Argentinian side with just 10 men. And Spain never looked rushed. Look at the stats for yourselves. They never drifted away from their own style, and that has defined football for generations. They monopolized possession, dictated the tempo and how, and gradually squeezed second by second the life out of an Argentinian side that simply never found a way to impose itself on the contest. Ferran Torres, he scored the winner, 106th minute. Lionel Messi arrived hoping to script one of the final chapters in an extraordinary international career. Let's not take anything away from the magical man. Instead, he found himself chasing shadows for much of the evening as Spain's relentless pressing and intelligent movement denied Argentina both time and space, even before Enzo Fernandez's red card reduced the defending champions. And some of those visuals from that night will tell you the same about how this was a silky smooth performance. The moment the trophy is lifted off by Rodri, all the major awards, the Golden Glove, the Golden Ball, and the youngest player of the tournament going to the Spanish side. This was a very young team. And Donald Trump, of course, with Infantino, delivering that trophy, the big piece of the day to the Spanish side. Spain had established complete control over the biggest game in football, without a doubt. Argentina survived because Emi Martinez, what a tall man, what a huge figure, produced save after save. It was the same in 2022 against France. It was the same against Netherlands in the quarterfinals in Qatar as well, keeping their hopes alive long enough to force extra time. But with that 10-man disadvantage, it was only a matter of time. It was only a matter of when and not if. And that picture, that embrace, Lionel Messi hugging Lamine Yamal, two generations, one thinking about his last dance and one he's barely put on his dancing shoes. Number 19 is his jersey. His age is 19. He's already won the Euro Cup. He's already won the World Cup. But there is only so long a team can defend against a wave after wave of pressure, and I think that's exactly what happened in New York, New Jersey. When the breakthrough finally came in the 106th minute, it was a goal that perfectly reflected everything Spain had produced throughout the tournament. Pedro Porro's delivery, Nico Williams' awareness to head the ball back across the goal, and Ferran Torres arriving at exactly the right moment to score the goal that will now be forever remembered in Spanish football history. The scoreline, it may have only read 1-0, but it scarcely reflects Spain's dominance. The defending champions barely threatened the Spanish goal, and for long stretches, mind you, for the 90 minutes, there was no shot on target. Can you believe it? This is one side that was known for its defense, having conceded just one goal in the 7 World Cup matches. We're talking about Spain. And the other side, Argentina, death-defying thrillers in the run-up to the finals. A team that had an XG of 2.17. It felt less like a World Cup final and more like a tactical masterclass between Del Fuente and Scaloni. How to control a football match. And perhaps that is the biggest takeaway from that night. That wasn't simply a team that won a World Cup. It was the emergence of another remarkable Spanish generation. Lamine Yamal, Pedri, Cubarsí, Nico Williams, Ferran Torres. They've now etched their names into history, even as David Villa, Puyol, Sergio Ramos, the entire team, Iker Casillas. I mean, the list goes on and on. They were sitting and watching, carrying forward a legacy that began with Spain's golden generation back in 2010. And right now on this special segment, we've got some credible voices. We'll introduce them in just a bit. We will look beyond that winning goal. We'll analyze how Spain completely neutralized Argentina, and why Lionel Scaloni's side never found an answer, even though he is the main man, he's the strategy man, he knows exactly what's happening. He's playing with the mind of the other managers. And whether this new Spanish team deserves a comparison with the great champions of 2010, even as Xavi Hernandez and everybody was looking down on them from their VIP boxes. And what this defeat means now for Lionel Messi, as his extraordinary World Cup journey appears to have reached its final chapter. Or maybe 4 years from now, when he's 43, if I'm not wrong, he maybe gets on the pitch again. Spain have reclaimed the football's biggest prize. There's no denying that. The main award is on your screens. And in doing so, they have reminded the world that sometimes the most powerful idea in sport is simply having the courage to stay true to your own identity. With us on the broadcast are 3 very credible voices. Let me introduce you to them. Zishan Khan, you all know him by Talk Football HD. Many thanks for taking up the time. We also have Talk Football HD's co-content creator, Shamek Ansari. I know it's been a long night, guys, but hang in there for just a few more hours. And we have Mr. Mahavir Rawat, sports journalist. The man needs no introduction. Many thanks, Mr. Rawat. I know we were talking about Rohit Sharma last time around and what a knock it was at Lord's, but this time, let's shift our focus. Let's focus on these World Cup moments. What an immaculate moment. Zishan, first and foremost, I mean, we'll come to Argentina. I can see Shamek's wearing the Spain jersey, you're wearing the Argentinian jersey, and for a neutral perspective, I know who to go to. But Zishan, first and foremost, can you take anything away from that superior masterclass in the midfield? I mean, it was that diamond formation with Enzo, with, you had McAllister. It was almost like a Liverpool versus, Chelsea's Cucurella. You had Manchester City's Rodri. It was a proper Monday night football clash that was taking place. But to stop those central lanes was something that Argentina could never do. Olmo with his quick turns. Lamine Yamal was being double teamed, but he was still coming up with the goods. He said, all right, you want to put your attention on me? Start throwing balls on the other side. What exactly happened? What is your assessment here? Many thanks for taking up the time and speaking to us here on this FIFA special.
Great to be here. First of all, huge congratulations to Spain. By the way, they are the deserved winner in today's game. And you're talking about them finding the spaces, and this is what Argentina has been. They has been all over the places. In the past 4 matches that we have seen, they're going into the knockout round, one after the other. Every single game you see Argentina showing up in the later parts of the stages. While they were hugely competed by all of these teams. Tonight was a different game. I do not want to call this game as a match because in no ways this was a match on a pitch. Argentina did not show up to play football. There was only one team that was playing football, and that was Spain. And they had got Argentina by the balls. In every single scenario, whenever Argentinian players used to get the balls, we know how good of a player is Enzo Fernandez when he gets on the ball. McAllister as well in the build-up play. Paredes when he later came on in the second half. All of those passing lanes were so efficient and so easily, should I say, cut off by the relentless work rate of Fabian Ruiz, Rodri. You have to give the credit to Olmo and the dropping Oyarzabal, who was playing as
an Argentinian fan. What was going through your mind? I mean, I can understand if you were getting frustrated, but you also know that the team wakes up late. Even after the 105th minute goal, you could not have written off Argentina. If there was another goal coming, people would have taken it. They would have believed it.
Absolutely. See, there could have been a moment where Simeone could have blasted that similar kind of shot that Ferran Torres scored. It may have been a 1-1 and maybe they would take the game to penalties. But after that red card, I seriously lost all kinds of hope. You know, I felt like it's now or never for Spain. And you know what I said after the game, when it all happened, it finished, Spain actually won. I said, if you conduct the game another 10 times, Spain will win the next 10 times. There is not going to be even a single scenario in which playing like this, Argentina can win. Spain were deserved winner. Talk about the game that Rodri had. Ferran Torres, what a statement. What a redemption from the guy who was suffering from mental problems and all. He went off football, tried to get the strength inside him, and then he comes off and does that. Absolutely beaten, thoroughly beaten, disappointing from Argentina. Obviously, there's a whole context of Lionel Messi's last game. We wanted, as Argentina fans, to see him leave the best of the best levels with the FIFA World Cup. You know, there's more of a disappointment of Messi leaving rather than Argentina losing as a true Leo Messi fan. But then you cannot take anything away from this Spain performance because they were so good. You play the next games
absolutely right. You just
10
can't
times,
do it. You
they're
just
going to
can't
win
do
10.
it. I think the operative part that you've said, Zishan, is the fact that if this match had been replayed 10 times, we know who would have come out there on top. All right, then, before we bring in the Spanish perspective, let me bring in Mr. Rawat. Mr. Rawat, did you watch the match? What was your opinion? I mean, the entire world is now aghast with headlines that are talking about Ferran Torres, that are talking about Lamine Yamal, that are talking about this new generation of Spanish team that has now come to the fore.
Yeah, and I was one of the generation who really loved watching when Xavi was there. Iniesta was one of my favorite players.
My apologies for not taking Iniesta's name. He was actually the World Cup winner. He was the goal scorer.
Yeah, exactly. So Iniesta, I mean, but it's not you. The world has not been fair to Iniesta, so it's okay. I understand that. But as far as a neutral fan, to be very honest, I was neither supporting Spain or Argentina, but the kind of game that Spain had shown, and just look at the opposition that they had beaten, and especially against Belgium that they had played. I was really impressed with the way they played against Belgium. Okay, France again, they didn't show up on that day. The victory against France was very good, but the way and the teams that they have beaten, they played absolutely flawless. And they say, your luck always runs out sometime if you are going to play by luck. And, right from the day when they were, fighting against Cabo Verde, then what happened against Egypt? I mean, come on, Egyptians were also praying, right? So, it's in the end, it was all fair and the best team definitely won. And I would have been a little disappointed had Argentina won because the refereeing, the kind of calls, the kind of luck that had been favoring Argentina was going too much on their way. So sometime it had to run out.
Well, you know what, Mr. Rawat, that's a very good point that you brought on. I was thinking we'll, warm up at least before I bring in the refereeing part. Actually, you know what, let's take our opening, comments from the Spanish supporter here. We've got Shamik Ansari, co-content creator at Talk Football HD. I know it's been a long, long night, but how do you feel? We've seen Zishan celebrate all those times, but Shamik, it was finally a night for you as well, it seems like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think starting this World Cup campaign, when Spain started, everybody thought that they would be blasting it off like the 2024 Euros, that they started with a perfect setup, a good team, which play simple football with two winger setup. Everybody knows what the role and the job and responsibilities are there. But the opening game against Cabo Verde shocked everyone that, oh, it seems like this could be a different story. But
Cabo Verde shocked Argentina also, pretty much did the job.
So that was a Cabo Verde story coming out from this World Cup altogether. But as this tournament, I think, went on by stages, by matches, we got to see the real, again, the Spanish side coming up with a lot of youngsters, bringing in that talent with experienced team, with an experienced manager coming up with this bunch of lads who fondly call the youngsters, calling him their father.
Yeah, he was the father figure. That's what Peter Drury kept on saying last night, and I was thinking that it's so important for this connect to be there, because he's literally groomed them from a very young age, and that's important.
Absolutely, and this is where I think the coaching works, where we saw how a good coached, I can say it outrightly, this was the best coached side we have seen for the past 3 World Cups. So I think this is the biggest takeaway that we can take from a Spanish side who just came in, went ruthless, played simple football, and won the World Cup.
You see, we've got some reactions as well. We've got, but before I play out those reactions, we've got reactions from the coaches, and it was a proper party inside the bus. Take a look at visuals from the Times Square. United States, it did not see a goal in the 1994 World Cup also in the first 90 minutes. Neither did that happen this time around, and if it wasn't for that red card, maybe this was going all the way. And that is something that Argentina was banking on, because with the removal of their number 9 striker later on in the game, putting in all your defensive midfielders, and when Paredes basically came in, the game's dynamic changed a little bit. A little bit of, rough element came into the fray. Would you say so, Zishan? And that gave the edge to Argentina a little bit, because before him coming on the pitch, before that number 5 central defensive midfielder, it was all Spain. Finally, some pushes here and there. Finally, some, rough element that we know Argentina for started happening.
This is what Argentina does. They get under your skin. They are known to cause some kind of problems every single time when you play. And honestly, that's the way when you play against a possession-based team. A team like Spain, who are known to keep the possession, who are known to join the dots. The Juego de Posesión, the positional play that we talk often about, devised by Johan Cruyff, then again perfected by Pep Guardiola, now inflicted upon the team by Luis de la Fuente. And then you can see in today's game, the way the Argentinians were setting up, it was all haywire in the beginning. They needed somebody in the center of the park to be the general, and this is what Paredes does. So when Paredes came on, you could see a little bit of a momentum going towards Argentina, and then it was absolutely gone. That's how dominant Spain were. They took that little life that Argentina had when Paredes came on the pitch, the little momentum they had. They cut off every passing lane, every channel. Messi was man-marked by 2 people. Every single time he gets the ball, he was trying to get past Rodri, but then Rodri had a little bit of a shirt tuck. That's where his analytical mind comes in. He's a guy who plays his football through his head. His legs are his tools. That's the reason why he is over here winning the golden ball. This was such a great performance from Spain.
The minute Paredes came in, the pushing began. Temper started flaring here and there, and you knew, all right, now this is turning into a little bit of a final, because before that it was all Spain. And
as
let me tell you,
Kabir, this
you
was
got to
like
give
a
it to
tactical
Pedro
battle.
Porro and Cucurella. I mean, it wasn't the same for Tagliafico or Mundial on the other end for Argentina. What Pedro Porro and Cucurella were doing, I mean, hats off to them. I think for me, the impact players were these 2 wingers.
Absolutely, they are better fullbacks. They are the best fullbacks in the FIFA World Cup, and I'll put up argument of Cucurella at the moment being the best fullback of the past
I'll tell
years.
you what, ask some Chelsea fan, ask some Tottenham Hotspur fan, and they'll tell you a different story about Pedro Porro and Cucurella.
I'm pretty sure. But then look at the statistics of Pedro Porro. He was thrown into this World Cup mix, saying that Llorente is going to start ahead of him because Llorente felt like more of a complete fullback. But Pedro Porro, since he came on the right back position, he's joining the attack, giving in the assists, giving in the goals, some much needed important goals. And plus on top of that, look at his defensive traits. He was unbothered in today's game. Same can be said for Cucurella. The 2 centre backs, I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about Pau Cubarsi's World Cup campaign. They were relentless, and I'm blown away by the tactical acumen and setup of Luis de la Fuente. It was so easy for them. And we were talking about the game of France. in the France game, Spain played like they know what's going to happen every single moment, every single pass. That's when and where I knew that this team can go on and win the FIFA World Cup because they were that good. And Argentina were never going to have an easy way around, so they had to go on with their naughtiness. As we all know that Argentina does that. They get under your skin. It couldn't happen. They failed. And probably if they were like equivalence 11v11, it could happen that they might take this game to the penalty shootouts, and then it could be a totally different story. But then, as it has been said rightfully by Cruz, football won today.
Total dominance by Spain. Mr. Rawat, you see, a lot of times, and we've seen it from a very young time when Messi was part of Barcelona, after which, you know, that sad emotional farewell when he started playing for Paris Saint-Germain. Then, of course, the MLS. And the Argentinian record speaks for itself, dragging this team to a third final, bagging one last time in Qatar. A silent and a hiding Messi is usually the most lethal Messi. I witnessed that match live when Argentina took on Netherlands in the 2022 quarterfinal. And the first goal and the first ball for Molina, you know, when you're sitting in the stadium and you're looking at all the 22 players, you can clearly see who's going to get this pass. You can see Angel Di Maria make a run to the other end, and you clearly see, okay, these are two options for Messi to pass. But to fool everybody in the stadium and, you know, chalk a pass, thread a pass to somebody that you didn't even expect, that's the person that Messi is. And he can create those goals. And often when he's silent and when he's hiding between a flurry of players, you don't even know where he is standing, he'll come with the goods. But this time around, that really did not happen. Spain were very adept at, you know, choking all the passes that were coming to the Magic Man.
And there's a stat, I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, that in the first minute, I guess he just touched the ball once for first 15 minutes.
You're absolutely right. The first 15 minutes, and the first touch was the kickoff, was the game starting.
A kickoff. So you should, you know, as other panelists are saying, you should just give hats off to whatever Spain had in their head. And also about Messi, look, we should be blessed that he's still playing rather than he's losing a World Cup. Look, he has lost a final, and this is what someone told me that when we used to criticize Sachin for getting out on 19, 95, 96, 88, and then someone told us that, are you not ashamed of criticizing Sachin that he has made 88? And then he has got out. So he has played the World Cup final at this age. And hats off to him, his fitness, his acumen. We all know that everyone says that, you know, he thinks 2 moves ahead of everyone. The kind of passes, the kind of moves that he makes, and the kind of plays that he sees possible when none is there. So we should be very blessed that he's still playing. And though I don't think that that he will play the next World Cup. And also that's the basic difference between Portugal's Ronaldo and Argentina's Messi, is that Portugal didn't have that belief in Ronaldo. They knew that, you know, when you give a ball to Ronaldo, whatever he is doing, they can do much better than him. And you know, the kind of frustration on the faces of the Portugal player, you could see them. But with Messi, you could see so much of, you know, still his team trust him, his teams really cherish the moment that they are playing with him, and they know that he will come up with something extraordinary because everyone knows that he is a great gifted player, and he has proved this. So I think we should be all blessed. We should be very happy that Argentina and Messi gave us a chance, and you know that, you know, India shares a kind of cultural you know, similarity with Argentina, and we have a lot of fan following of Argentina, God knows why, but yeah, that's I mean, I was very happy to just see him in the final, and the kind of moves that he made and the kind of impact he had on Argentina. So he was just not a liability, he was really an asset.
All right. Shamik, you know, for the first time, there was a halftime show also. Let's not take credit away from that halftime show. Usually, you know, you get a break. When it's halftime, people go outside, maybe buy another beer. That's the kind of thing that happens in a halftime. But this halftime was something totally different. I mean, I think it really encapsulated the imagination of all the viewers. It was really great. It started with Madonna. I mean, I would have liked Ronaldinho sitting next to some other player. You had both the Brazilians that were driving that car when Madonna was singing. But after Madonna, you had Ted Lasso. You had, you know, the entire halftime show. Look at some of those pictures. Chris Martin, he's the curator for all of this. So it had to be a great show. What was your takeaway from, you know, the the halftime show, Shakira's dancing. You had Coach Ted Lasso, Justin Bieber with his guitar, Hallelujah, right in the middle. Amazing performance, needless to say, right?
Absolutely. I think the halftime show, first time ever in a World Cup for the conventional fans who have been watching football regularly, the 15-minute break does not necessarily turn out into this, but it was, I would say, a different experience for us. I was thinking,
it was such a good show. Maybe, in the Spanish dressing room, in the Argentinian dressing room, they were also probably not focusing on the pep talk so much, but looking at the television screen because the production quality was so great.
Yeah, it did. For me, the best moment was when Ted Lasso, the Coach Lasso with Coach Beard, they came together and they just
that was a good
went
one.
on with Belieber. Come on, let's go. It's your time. So for me, that was the best moment. But altogether, I think it was one of the spectacles of this entire World Cup. They have been loading it for some time. They have been sharing the build up to this, and it all comes down to all the. Even I show Speed there, one of the streamers who just had an incredible journey from his studio apartment where he had like 3 or 4 viewers to coming to this stage where he was performing for the entire world.
Maybe we'll see Talk Football HD soon, opening one of these shows or closing one of these shows soon. Who knows?
Let's hope. We can rap.
Yeah, the both of you. All right. Let's talk a little bit more football and then maybe we'll give the mic to you, quote unquote. But you see, Shamik, let's throw some light on Kubarsi. Let's not take credit away from him. He got the FIFA Young Player Award. I think before this match, in a World Cup final, you had Pele, who had played. Another great generation leader is Mbappe, who was a teenager who played. One more Italian player, I'm not remembering the name at this point in time. If you guys can help me, that'll be great. So you essentially had just 3 teenage players in the World Cup finals. And this time around, you had 2. You had Lamine Yamal and you had Pau Kubarsi. And Kubarsi, what a boy what a fine player this boy is turning into.
Absolutely, Kabir. I think if he would have been stepped up and then just announced the player of the tournament, there would have been a few eyebrows, but I would have taken it. The boy is phenomenal.
Zishan does not agree with that.
I'll speak about that later.
Yeah. When they announced the golden ball, the cameras were cutting to Lionel Messi. It's as if everybody thought, okay, he's lost, but let's just still give him, the golden ball. Anyway, Shamik, please complete your thoughts.
So at 19 years of age, you are in the starting lineup of the biggest game on this planet. I think we were discussing on our stream as well, where we had a discussion like what Fabio Cannavaro did in that 2006 season, his stats, which led him to eventually winning him the Ballon d'Or. If we put this Kubarsi performance of the World Cup, it could be equivalent or even better than that. And to do all of that at 19 years of age, boy, oh boy, this is special. I think it'll take a generation to happen something like this ever again.
Seeing the next Vidic, are we seeing the next Carlos Puyol, the next Sergio Ramos in the shape of Pau Kubarsi, the one who's actually going to, I think Laporte had a great and an easy time because he had such a great defending partner with him.
Absolutely. I think when there's a footage of Sergio Ramos when there's a tackle of Enzo on Kubarsi, I guess, when Sergio Ramos is in the stands like, oh, come on, what is happening? So that is, again, I think he found the Sergio Ramos on the pitch who could not play. But I think this is a legacy of Pau Kubarsi himself. He's the first Pau Kubarsi to be standing there, and he has made an easy job, not for just his partner in Aymeric Laporte, who himself was phenomenal. We had a lot of people commenting on a regular basis that they are blessed that they could see Aymeric Laporte at 33 ball this much. But we have seen him since the Manchester City days. We know how good of a player he is. And all of them coming together with a well-coached under De La Fuente.
It was a heartwarming moment. You had David Villa who was getting in. Every other move, you had Xavi Hernandez who was, trying to get up. And they were all really excited. It's as if, they were right there on the sidelines, not sitting in the VIP boxes. Yamal ka Kamal, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Let's play a reaction from a Spanish fan. We've got a reaction from a Spanish fan. This is just after the match. Let's listen into what the Spanish fan had to say.
This is the greatest thing ever. We've been waiting for this for 16 years. Ever since I was a little girl. I was 8 years old when we won last time. I've watched every match. Spain's matches, the other ones that weren't Spain. I've experienced them like they're the greatest thing ever. Long live in Spain. We're world champions.
We are cousins and we have always wanted to be here, celebrate the final here, and of course winning it is what we wanted most. To be together and win it here in Madrid so we can celebrate here with all the people of the Spain.
It's very emotional to be here, to know that all the people here in Spain, we feel like a real team together.
We were rooting for Pradhan. Zishan, let's again look at that exact moment, that foul, that red card for Enzo Fernandez. Across the tournament, people have been saying, the memes that have been doing the rounds. Infantino and Lionel Messi, whether Infantino is a baby or Lionel Messi is a baby. The truth is that Lamine Yamal was a baby when, Messi did that photo shoot with him. But the memes, although some of them were a little funny, and after the Egypt game, after the Cabo Verde game, those memes and the frequency of the memes also went up. WhatsApp groups fighting it out, abusives, everywhere. I mean, it's as if, people had Argentinian and Portuguese Aadhaar cards with them. That's how they were fighting. True. But do you think that was a foul? Do you think that was a justified second yellow? Or Kubarsi is also a really great gymnast?
Well, no, that is a red card day in and day out. I mean, there are lots of slanders and controversies building up around Argentina. Some of them are all right. Those are just false. Talk about the tackle in that Egypt game. That was not going to be a foul on Mo Salah. I mean, Mo Salah did not protest for that. But this foul that happened on Pau Kubarsi, that was absolutely a red card. It was given as a second yellow. I might as well have given it as a direct red card, So definitely this was a very right decision, and this is where the decision split. And Enzo Fernandez knew what he was doing. He was already on a very stupid yellow card before for arguing with the referee. You cannot do that. I mean, you let your emotion get to your head. You cannot be that stupid to just bail out at the referee, shouting, screaming, and the referee is gonna. Of course, he's a human. He demands to be respected. He's there conducting the whole FIFA.
You're talking about the first yellow. You're talking about the first yellow. That first yellow was unnecessary.
Unnecessary. So that was the one moment, and where he got that stupid yellow card, and after that he had to step into the tackle. Maybe he could have went a bit low, maybe he couldn't have made that contact. Well, that was a very awkward fall for Kubarsi, and let me tell you, Kabir, I'm a huge Barcelona fan. I've been to Barcelona 4 times. I've been in the Camp Nou. I've cried at the Camp Nou. I love these boys. Kubarsi might as well have given him the golden ball. I don't care. I would absolutely stand up and applaud that guy because he's a monster. I've been watching him since the day he debuted for Barcelona. It's been more than 3 years, and he has been winning everything. There are a lot of hate and toxicity coming towards the guy when he got that red card in the Champions League, and then people were like, no, he's not ready, he's too young, he's spoiled. Look at him now. He's playing as a veteran of 29. He's only 19.
Very mature
again, I'm
performance.
absolutely proud of the way they stepped up in today's game. But yes, the decision today by the referee to send Enzo Fernandez was spot on.
It was spot on. So good refereeing. In the final, you had very, very accurate refereeing. And that second goal for Ferran Torres, it was offside, and the digital technology showed you the exact margin. And even before the technology came in, I think kudos to the linesman because he raised the flag, way well in advance. So, I mean, still the eye is doing a better job than that very immaculate technology that we have. Mr. Rawat, you see, we've got visuals of the players, cutting in the nets. Sometimes when you win the Cricket World Cup, they take the stumps back home, but there you just have the 6 stumps. You have a huge goal net over here to cut and take home. Maybe all 22 players can get a portion of that. Why does that happen? I mean, do they still want to stay close to that moment that they won on the pitch? Help us get inside these players. These are very young players. It's not the end of the road for them. I mean, Messi doing something like that, it's still understandable. But for them,
look, I mean, taking a souvenir from the final is always something that you want to cherish, and you want to tell these are the stories that you want to tell your grandchildren that, I was there when this happened. I still remember, 2 incidences. When I was in US, there was, Nowitzki had won NBA that time, and I was there in the in the basketball court. Because I myself had played university basketball, so I was a huge fan of Michael Jordan. I mean, so I just went there to see the final, and everyone wanted the way they just took the net from the basketball ring. And also when Sachin scored his first century in, I think it was in Indore, and I was or Gwalior. I mean, I still have that mud from the pitch over there, so that and today also when I tell my kids, when Sachin scored his first double century, this is the pitch that he was playing, though that time it was a hard solid rock pitch. Now it has become mud, but these are the souvenirs that you want with you always.
Right. I think, and this night is something that's something that these young players will never, ever forget. But Mr. Rawat, if I could ask you, what was your favorite moment of the game? And look, even as we talk about it, we've got those visuals, the players cutting in, chopping in those nets. But your favorite moment, Mr. Rawat, from the entire game?
It would be very, though I had I was waiting for some excellent magical moment from Messi, which didn't come. But I won't say a very great moment to remember, but the red card. I mean, both the panelists that are sitting over here, my knowledge of football is zilch when compared to both these gentlemen. But that was absolutely foolish to argue with a referee and get a yellow card. I mean, for God's sake, you are not playing a boxing match. It's a team, and the impact that your performance or your violation has on the team is very, very important for you to understand. And I think it really had a very bad impact on it.
Important moment. You're absolutely right, Mr. Rawat. You see, Enzo Fernandez, now that we're talking about that red card, it's important because Messi was carrying the team earlier. This time around, Enzo Fernandez was carrying Messi. He let Messi do his job because Enzo Fernandez was so good at what he was doing. He was absolutely important for this team. Imagine Cucurella in Chelsea. Imagine Enzo Fernandez in Chelsea. And they're not the same players. Pedro Porro and Tottenham Hotspur, they're not the same players. And again, warrants that question whether these are bad players or they had a really awful season last time around in English football. Then you had McAllister in the centre half. You had Rodri. You had another Liverpool versus Manchester City going on. You had Chelsea going on. You had Chelsea versus Tottenham going on. You had Arsenal, midfielder Merino, who came in later on. A lot of Monday Night Football. I'm again going to that. A lot of Monday Night Football. But looking at Enzo Fernandez, that card was absolutely unnecessary in the beginning. I think he let the team down, and which is why he was so sad and dejected later on. But Shamik, talking about Emi Martinez, let's not take any credit away from him as well. He could have very well gotten the Golden Glove. It's just that Argentina conceded too many goals. He kept them in the game. He kept them going. 0 shots from Argentina. About 13-14 shots, many of them on target. Even Kubarsi coming in with a shot. And that was one of those, real nice long-range strikes. Emi Martinez, he continued to stand tall. Let's throw some light on Emi Martinez for a while.
Absolutely phenomenal, Kabir. I think it should not be compared
against
the performance that he had in 2022. Back in 2022, he had a phenomenal, I think he was also doing the carry job in the goalkeeper department. But this time around, probably not his best World Cup performances. But I think he kept it for the last when it mattered the most. I think he made 11 saves today. 11 saves where relatively, I think 7 or 8 of them were easy to grasp in terms of goalkeepers, but 3 or 4 were really, really difficult.
Oh my goodness, that free kick. Did we talk about that free kick? That free kick right in the end. I mean, Peter Drury said that he had to travel a lot. I don't think he had to travel a lot, but it was a very good shot. The entire class of 2010 was standing on their feet.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me to just witness a 19-year-old Yamil Yamal taking the time and age to just set up the wall, and the wall did its job as well. But again, you'll have to go past a very, very very tall and a World Cup winner, Emi Martinez, to defy those odds. And again, a good save. Like I said, 11 saves coming from him. He made sure that Argentina was in the game. But like I said, I think the goal that Pradhan just it took away the momentum from Argentina. But in individual perspective, this was the game from Emi Martinez that he could have delivered.
Yeah, Nico Williams' header. You had a couple of shots coming in from Ferran Torres as well. Emi Martinez coming in with the goods. But Zishan, on the other hand, why no shots scored from Argentina's sides? Why no shots for 90 minutes? No shots. I mean, that's blasphemous for a team that's been scoring 2.17 xg. Not a single shot on target. What was stopping them? And no Lautaro Martinez also later on.
See, there were a lot of forced substitutions, first of all, because of Lisandro Martinez's early on injury. He had to be subbed out for another defender. That's when Amit came in. And later on, there was another unfortunate injury to Cuti Romero. Because of that, another centre-back had to come in. So two of the substitutions were already gone. They were forced. So that's when probably Lionel Scaloni realized that he doesn't have any more substitutions left. And the one, I believe, the mistake substitution that he made was to take off Montiel, who was playing really well at that point of time, at least start bit defensive. But Armando Molina, that did not really help. If you watch the last 3-4 matches for Argentina, the way they have conceded the goals, Sidney Lopez Cabral scored from that right flank of Argentina through Molina's side, and then after that Molina was subbed off. You would see the last game in which Anthony Gordon scored the goal, it came through the Molina side. Obviously, albeit the cross came in from the left side position, but it was finished off on the right side of the Molina side. Today as well, you could see he was beaten thoroughly, 1v1 duels. It was reckless, that substitution. And apart from that, you see how well Spain set up, and this is the mastery of Spain. Before we begin into talking about what went down, we have to understand that Spain are the best defensive side in this team, in this FIFA World Cup.
Unbeaten run, now at 38 games. Exactly. 38 games.
You talk about the least XG per game conceded. This is incredible that a team has gone on to a World Cup in playing 8 matches and they have only conceded an expected goal against, which is a measure of the opportunity, the shot quality of the opposition.
Who was that team that scored against Spain?
That was Belgium. And that was Belgium, and that was Charles de Ketelaere of all players. Spain faced up against the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Rafael Leao, Joao Felix. They did not concede. It was shut. They faced up against the likes of France, Kylian Mbappe, Ousmane Dembele, and all of those lads who were burning the whole pitches. And then they came up against Argentina, and now they conceded the goal through Belgium. See, do not take anything away from the positional discipline of the players in the midfield. Talk about Rodri's positioning. That's the reason why he's just so elite. Talk about Fabian Ruiz, and of course, since the moment Pedri came on, it was done. Pedri was running circles. His performance since he came on in the last hour, he created 4 chances. That's the most that anybody has done on the pitch. So the defensive astuteness of this team, and it's all about the team. We keep on talking about football as a game. It's a game of 11 players on the pitch. Yes, definitely once in a while a player can bail you out, and Messi has done that for Argentina innumerable number of times, but he can only do so many times. This was the time that he needed the help and they did not arrive, and even Leo Messi was coming up short in today's game. It needed to be a team effort, and that team was only Spain, and they defended everything and they waited very perfectly for the moment it arrived. Patience rewarded Spain their win.
You see, ever since I started playing football from a very young age, I always thought that, considering I myself played the midfield position, you needed flair on the wings, you needed a selfish striker up front, but in the midfield you see the holistic view. You have to run back as well. It's a box to box setup, and I always thought this has to be 11 people playing chess, thinking about the same move at the same time, and some of that silky smooth passing also came through. Goal nahi pad paye, but some of that silky smooth passing did come through. We've been at it for the last 40 minutes. We'll continue talking about this. Let's take a quick commercial breather here. There are 2-3 other aspects that we do need to talk about. Let's talk about the Spain team's composition when we come back. Many of them, are they really, children of immigrants who had come there later on, not born as proper, Spanish people? Yes, Mr. Rawat, do you want to come in?
So I just wanted to apologize that after the break, maybe I would not be able to join you because today I have a very important meeting about Commonwealth Games. I mean, that's also another sport that we have to start.
That's absolutely understood.
So I would really thank everyone on the panel. And we just hope that the kind of excitement and this FIFA World Cup has made, as you said, everyone enjoyed watching this World Cup. It has got a very good impact. And as a nation, as a sports person, myself and a sports journalist, I wish that we had more to contribute on this football World Cup rather than eyeballs. So we just hope something good comes out.
I think this is the right segue for us to introduce that and say that Minerva FC, they've won the Helsinki Cup and now they won the Gothia Cup as well. These are under 12 boys. And
I'm sorry, but you should have seen the age group of the other teams before we get into that. So not everything that is shown on social media is as good as it seems, and something is happening over there. But just you can't. All I think is that you can't go to support Indian football team by wearing t-shirts of Messi or Ronaldo. You have to wear your own heroes.
That's a good one. Yes, exactly.
Encourage them. So, I mean, there are many flaws in that, but thank you for having me, and both of you gentlemen, you really enrich my knowledge of football. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Rawat. All right, then, let's shift into a quick commercial breather here. On the other side, with Talk Football HD, a couple of more things that we do need to talk about. Don't go anywhere. This is FIFA Special right here on News9.
कुछ भी खा नहीं पा रहा हूँ, बहुत अपसेट हूँ। Take it, date not bites. No added sugar, प्रिजर्वेटिव के बिना डेट्स, बादाम, पिस्ता, काजू और शहद से तैयार किया गया लायन डेट्स नट बाइट्स। लायन डेट नट बाइट्स।
The fallout from the deadly ambush on the church leaders in Manipur is now rapidly escalating across the hill districts.
Unfortunately, the government has not taken appropriate action still.
Commitment to the stories that come out from Northeast, and we'll continue to cover them in depth and entirety.
News9, in your interest.
Welcome back. You're watching a special broadcast on the FIFA World Cup final. Spain are world champions once again. Another star right here on their crest. But this was far more than just another title. It was a victory of philosophy, of patience, of complete tactical dominance. So we've been discussing for the last 40 minutes or so. And what made this Spanish side simply too good for Argentina, and what does this result mean for Lionel Messi and football's newest superstar, Lamine Yamal? Let's get straight into it. With me here on the broadcast are two very important voices when it comes to Indian football and Indian football content creation. We have Talk Football HD in the house. Many thanks, Zishan. Many thanks, Shamik, for taking out the time and continuing to be with us. I'm again mentioning this here because I do want the viewers to know that I know so many reels that have to be done and cut up, so many post-match productions that have to happen, and you guys are still awake. It's been a horrendous World Cup when it comes to timings for Indian football fans. 4:30 a.m., 6:30 a.m., 2:30 a.m. I mean, people in Portugal must be sleeping, but Ronaldo and CR7 fans and Messi fans are here, awake with dark circles under their eyes, but they continue to watch matches. And kudos to you guys as well. Immaculate content. I don't want the viewers to know what Zishan's mother has to say for Oyarthabal, what she calls him. Particularly, but it's been nevertheless a great tournament, but not so great timing for us.
Absolutely. Very, very true. It was very difficult to follow the game. I've seen so many people, like you talk about students who are going to the classes, like they have their colleges and everything, and people who are working in offices, they have to get up in the morning, they have to pack their bags, they have to leave for offices.
You're telling me, Zishan, you're telling me watching the match,
no, absolutely,
riding it up till 5 a.m., then coming here for another show. But hey, anything, all's fair if in football.
Absolutely. See, that's the thing. For us, like, we are content creators and this is our job to do. So come what may, we will do this, whatever time it is. But for the people who actually took time out of their life, apart from the other stuff that they were doing, this is a huge win for them. And I will pay my respect to all of those people who have spent all of those time watching the World Cup. And we all can sit together and say what a freaking ride this was. Absolutely proud of being a part of this community. And huge shout out to all the football supporters who have followed us in this journey.
Shamik, since you're the co-content creator, were there times when you were like, look man, I'm not so interested. It's not even my team's match. Brazil is not playing. Spain is not playing. But I've got to sit and do this watch along with you, Zishan.
No, I think this is where the insect or the kida-ness of football it just takes over everything. Even it is like a Turkey versus Australia game, you would want to see what Irakunda story can be or what a Kinani Ildiz or Arda Güler story can be. So every game was like we'll go in with the same gusto because a lot of people again they want to watch, let's say, a Turkey or an Australia game. They are also coming and joining.
104 matches. Did you guys cover all of that?
We actually missed just 2 watch-alongs of those games. Otherwise, the other matches, we were live on every single one of them. I remember doing a watch-along of Paraguay game in the morning at 9:30 a.m. and I was like, what the hell am I doing even here sitting? But then since Shamik joined in our studios, it was quite an easy ride because both of us were able to discuss our thoughts, we were able to share our loads and we were able to cover. And as soon as the knockouts hit, it became kind of easy. And there came a point of time as well where we were missing, you know what? I do miss the group stage. A random 2:30 a.m. Panama-England kickoff is all I need at the moment in my life.
Shamik?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the same thing goes. The last game that we 10:30 a.m. was the one which ideally was the last pinpoint that was like, oh my god. 10:30 it starts, 12:30 it is ending. It can go till 1 if you talk to folks around 1:30. Then you have to shoot a lot of stuff goes in production as well.
Yeah.
So overall, I would say for me, there was an oath ceremony that we did on our channel where we took an oath that the final for this World Cup, when after Brazil got knocked out, should be the finalizuma. So for me, this World Cup is a success. So even if I had sleepless nights, I am happy. I am happy.
This new change, do you think it's here to stay? A new round of 32 that happens, more teams, more excitement? Because for many out there, some of the group stage games, they were like, nah, you know what, we'll just watch the highlights for this one.
Oh, so this is something I think they should stop at 48. This is my 2 cents on this thought.
Please.
On this, the 48 number, the number of teams on with 48 in the bank, I think
Think
they
about
should
the
just
content
stop.
creators also,
Random
please.
42.
Think about the football fans. Let's just stop at 48.
Yeah, because again, there is a narrative of the quality of football, which was again discussed when the numbers rose from 32 to 48 altogether. So if there's a discussion of 48 to 64, again that narrative will go very strong, and there'll be we saw a lot of players getting injured as well because of the number of games that they are playing. So we have to take that into consideration, a balance of players' health as well, and in the number of games that they are playing throughout the season. So 48 is the sweet spot. I think it shouldn't go beyond that.
Fair enough, understood. You see, even as we're flashing these lines about Argentina's night to forget, there was another thing that happened at night in Buenos Aires. There was a lot of stone pelting that happened. I don't know if you guys know about that. We'll show some of those visuals as well. These are visuals from Buenos Aires. People out there on the streets. I mean, it would have been nothing different had they picked up the World Cup. But now that they lost it, seems like, I mean, that unruliness, I don't want to pinpoint that particularly. But when I was in Qatar as well, in 2022, it was Argentinians who had taken over the entire Doha, Corniche and the entire line there. Even here, you have the riot gear and the police that are out there. I think that's the reason why, this entire nation that lives and breathes on football, that's why this essentially happens. What do you have to say about this, Dishan? I mean, anger, frustration, what is this? How does one look at this as a football fan? Because when you talk about hooliganism, when you talk about the ultras, there comes a little sense of violence. But
see,
this
nothing justifies this, Kabir. Nothing justifies this. I'm a football fan, obviously I support Argentina, but when they would go on into this, obviously your heart is like, no, that should not be happening. I cannot find a single reason that if they lost, if they won, nothing needs to happen for you to actually go on and do this. And while I say that, I also have to talk about what happened in the post game. You could see Paredes lashing on to Gavi. There was a fighting involved. I definitely condemn that as well. If you lose, you lose. You go out. Be a respectful loser. So you could see what the standards of Lionel Messi were. After the loss, he was standing there alone and the other players were fighting around. But what is going on over here in Buenos Aires is no good. It doesn't do anything good about football over there in the country. Obviously, it's a country that is thriving because of the successes of with football. They are put on the mantle because of what Diego Armando Maradona, Mario Kempes, Passarella, and all of these Batistuta and now Lionel Messi have been doing. To do this, these images to be shown to the global audience, it's absolutely very sad.
Many thanks for that opinion. Shamik, would you like to throw some light on this? And then we'll again come back for final comments before we close this up. This is the great FIFA segment. Yeah.
I think personally, when we were in Qatar back in 2022, we were surrounded by Argentinians where we were living, and we had the time of our lives there. There was always an invitation to an open party there. They were barbecuing stuff. So for me, the perspective of Argentinians is a very cordial and a very friendly demeanor that they put in. There's always this inviting feature that they have that that you'll enjoy. We danced with them. I was a Brazil supporter. I think I had a jersey of Brazil also. There were a few banters here and there, but again, we all just came together, danced, and enjoyed every bit of it. But like Zishan said, I strongly again condemned whatever this was, the hooliganism. There's no place for these things in football. And even on the pitch, when Paredes was manhandling Gavi, I think he got the deserved red card.
All right, let's shift our focus back to the match-winning moment. I'm going to, ask some rapid-fire questions to the both of you, so that we understand. First and foremost, the impact player. Who was your impact player, Zishan?
The impact player in this game, I believe that was Rodri altogether.
And for you, Shamik?
I think Nico
Williams. Nico Williams and Rodri, two impact players. Nobody is talking about Ferran Torres. I mean, he's the guy who
he scored the goal. He scored the winner. He's getting the plaudits already.
And by the way, a direct volley from this close, with Emi Martinez right in your face, left footer. I think that's if all of us here have played football, we all know exactly how difficult that is in the first place. One word to describe the Spanish performance, Zishan.
Breathtaking.
Okay. Shamik?
It's I would say simple football.
Simple football. All right then. Shamik, I'll start with you this time around. The better World Cup winning team, 2010 or 2026?
I'm a nostalgia guy. I'm in my late 20s. I would go for 2010.
Oh, that Fabregas chip to David Villa, and then David Villa puts it right in the corner. Great team. For you, Zishan?
Well, in terms of performance, like I said, the teams that they face and with the relative ease with which this team has beaten, I'll go with purely performance basis this side, but then nothing beats that iconic 2010.
Okay, player of the tournament, do you agree? Rodri, Zishan?
Well, yes, I would have preferred Messi to win it, but I do understand the context that Rodri was throughout the whole tournament the cornerstone that Spanish team needed, and I'm totally satisfied with that.
Okay, Shamik?
Incredible.
I think I was looking at the criterias for how you are selected for the golden ball, and I think most of the parameters for me were in favor of Messi. But I think it was the final trophy that put Rodri's name up top. For me, it was Lionel Messi.
All right, my final question. We don't know whether this is the beginning of another Spanish dynasty or not. Another 4 years, we'll understand, or maybe the Euros 2 years from now. But both of your prediction for Ballon d'Or this year. First, you, Zishan.
Well, I don't know. At the moment, you've got so many names. There's Harry Kane, there's Ulisse, there's Lamine Yamal as well. Might as well give it to Kubasi with that phenomenal performance. If Rodri had this whole season, as a City player, because he was injured for a long time, he just came back at the very end. He was there at the very beginning. He was not having a very good season.
Pick one.
Performance. Wait. Well, as of now, right at the moment, I'll go with Lamine Yamal.
Okay, Lamine Yamal. Shamik.
Oh, my days. I would just go out of the context. I think I have seen Mikel Merino, what he has done at Arsenal, and they have won the Premier League as well.
Mikel Merino, add that name to the list. Wow. Cringe. Zishan's cringing on the other hand. You see, Spain have reminded the footballing world that talent may win matches, but identity wins championship. A new generation has arrived. The second star now shines on the Spanish jersey. And somewhere between Lionel Messi and his heartbreak and Lamine Yamal's celebration, football has witnessed one era make way for another. That's all we have on In Your Interest and this special FIFA segment. Many thanks, Talk Football HD, with content creator Zishan Khan and co-content creator Shamik Ansari, and of course Mr. Rawat, who was with us. Many thanks, gentlemen, for taking on the time. I hope we get to do this more often, talk about football, keep that football conversation going. Many thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
All right then, with that, it's a wrap with this edition of this FIFA special segment. Top developments right on the other side. Keep it with News9.
This is India's #1 news network, and you're watching News9, English news as it should be.
Hello and welcome. You are watching Unmissable. I am Krishna Kumar. Tonight on Unmissable, we have three big debates. As always, we begin with the protests at the Jantar, Mantar and all the chaos surrounding it, with the CJP now in the spotlight. Abhijit Dike first detained, then released. Is this a pivotal moment as far as Gen Z is concerned and their political involvement is concerned? Now, the other big debate tonight is in Tamil Nadu with the arrest of another DMK MLA from the same constituency for remarks against the Chief Minister Joseph Vijay. Is this an overreach on the part of the TVK government, or is the DMK no holier than thou to raise questions? And finally, we put the focus on junk foods, with now Karnataka thinking, or rather contemplating, the complete ban of junk foods in schools. Will that be a pivotal first step in the right direction for others to follow? Those are the big debates tonight. But before we get to all of that, first up, a quick check of all the headlines. J.P. Nadda meets CJP spokesperson, says this is the first time protesters gave a proposal to talk with government, urges protesters to end their sit-in protest. CJP protests outside Parliament triggers massive traffic gridlock in several parts of Delhi. Commuters suffer due to long traffic snarls caused by route diversions. Supreme Court hears a plea seeking a CBI probe into the Ram Mandir donation theft case. Chief Justice of India asks whether the SIT could be reconstituted, to which the Solicitor General says that the government has no objection. Tripura Director General of Police Anurag Dhankar found dead at his office at the Agartala Police Headquarters. Preliminary reports suggest that he allegedly died by suicide. A probe is underway. What if India's fastest growing youth movement did not begin with a political speech but with a meme? It sounds unbelievable, but that's exactly what has happened. The Cockroach Janata Party, or the CJP, started as a satirical Google form, a joke, an internet trend, a response to a controversial courtroom remark. But within weeks, it had attracted lakhs of supporters, millions of social media followers, and eventually thousands of people on the streets. Today, that online movement has collided with real-world politics. The party's Sansad Chalo March saw heavy police deployment, detentions, tear gas, and a political showdown on the opening day of the Parliament's monsoon session. At the center of the protests are demands linked to the NEET paper leak, the resignation of Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan, and support for activist Sonam Wangchuk, who recently ended a 21-day hunger strike after being shifted to a hospital. But beyond the headlines lies a bigger question. Is this a pivotal moment for Gen Z in India? For years, India's youngest generation has expressed frustration through memes, reels, and sarcasm. Unemployment, exam anxiety, and political fatigue became jokes online because humor often felt easier than anger. The CJP changed that. However, critics argue that meme politics can oversimplify complex issues. Viral trends often run on emotion rather than facts, making it easier for misinformation and polarization to spread. Online popularity does not always translate into meaningful policy change, and digital movements can disappear as quickly as they emerge. There are also concerns that turning serious issues into internet humor may weaken democratic debate instead of strengthening it. We have Mahendra Singh, senior journalist, advocate Gyanendra Mishra, political analyst, Seema Kausar, social activist, joining us. Thank you all of you for joining us. I'm going to begin with advocate Gyanendra Mishra. Talk to us, from this began in a courtroom. It began with a remark by the Chief Justice of India. Now here we are, and questions were raised at that time, as in all those people liking the CJP's Instagram page, all those millions, will they show up? Well, certainly you can see evidence that if not all of the millions, a huge chunk of them.
Yeah, thank you for Krishna. Thank you for having me on your show. So as you rightly said, what started as a satirical response to the alleged remark by the Honorable Chief Justice of India, nobody would have imagined that it will turn into such a massive street support for an issue which is closer to the heart of millions and millions of not only young students, but also their parents and family members. I believe that the government's inept way of handling the issues that is plaguing the country has resulted in a satirical online movement to turn into a sizable street protest, which all we are witnessing today. And things could have been, there's no doubt about it, that the things could have been handled in a much better way by the government. There's no two mind in saying that the continuous and successive paper leaks, not about only one examination, but examination per examination across the country, has made a mockery of our competitive exam. Students, their parents, their family members spend years and years sacrificing their routine life, compromising their own well-being by preparing the students for the competitive examination, because that is the gateways of entering into, a career in India, gaining employment in India. And they prepare, and when the examination comes, we not only fear, but it is actually happening that there is a massive paper leak. And when the demand is made that the person who is in charge of education ministry should at least owe that responsibility, that yes, something is amiss, we accept that, and we are ready for a discussion, we are ready for inputs from the various stakeholders, and we are ready to set the things correct so that it should not happen. But instead of that, what we see is a total silence, a chosen silence on the part of the government on this very, very, spread demand that the accountability should be fixed at the first stage and then it should be ensured that the paper leak does not happen again. But instead, what the government does, government gives no response whatsoever. And this is a pattern as far as the present government is concerned. They feel that whatever the people demands, whatever the public see, if we don't respond, it will die its natural death. Let's give a picture that we are not concerned with it. We don't take you seriously. You will keep speaking. You will keep protesting for few days, few hours, few months, and the things will die down. This attitude of a democratic, popularly elected government does not augur well for democracy. Because if a democratic government does not listen to the sentiment of the people, you are missing the very soul of the governance.
Yeah, Advocate Ganendra Mishra made a very important point over there. Whether the momentum of these protests will sustain themselves over a period of time. Let me now bring in senior journalist Dr. Mahendra Singh into the conversation. Sir, what do you think? First, when all the skeptics have been answered with the kind of turnout that you saw at Jantar Mantar, do you think this has the potential to move forward?
Listen, this is a new kind of protest driven by technology. And you can say that this is as first started in Middle East countries. We all have heard about harvesting and all that protest, which you don't need ideology to unite people. You don't need dedicated followers or cadres or any bigger cause to make people come on one platform. You just need a single issue to mobilize people, and this is what Popular Janata Party has done. That the examination, what the poor government record of examination as far as the leakage or other things are concerned, that exams are not happening at a regular time period. Then there are a lot of news about leakages and all that. So this single issue, which forced the youth to think that this government is not serious about their future, and the issue is that now thousands or lakhs of people are chasing for few seats. So if you conduct examination on regular interval, the foolproof examination, then the students or the aspirants, they feel that they may not be competent enough to qualify that examination. But having
Dr. Mahendra Singh, we're having a bit of an issue with the audio. We'll just fix that and get back to you quickly. Meanwhile, let me take this across to Advocate Ganendra Mishra. Advocate Ganendra Mishra, there is clear, anger out on the streets with these kind of visuals. Questions will be raised in the way the protesters were handled as well, and what essentially comes out of it. But this is not just about the resignation of the education minister. This goes far beyond.
Yeah, it's going far beyond. And again, the way the government is handling the current protest, again showing a lack of sensitivity, and I would say also immaturity on the part of the government, because government's reactions are very knee-jerk, too little, too late, because we all heard that Mr. J.P. Nadda called the two representatives of the CJP for a conversation today afternoon. It could have been done much earlier, because what was expected and what was the basic demand of the protesters were that the government should invite us for a constructive dialogue, fix the accountability, ensure that the paper leak does not happen again, address the issues that is plaguing our educational system and examination system. And I don't see no reason, because the failure is obvious that, as I said, exam per exams, the paper are being leaked, and the government and the Ministry of Education is not in a position to control it, conduct the examination free and fair, which is the most fundamental duty. And if the protesters or the student demands an accountability, because in a democratic government, if there is no accountability, if no one is accountable for things going wrong, how the things will be set the right? Because you cannot expect that it does not look normal that a person who is consistently failing at his duty, you would expect that at the next examinations, everything will be set the right. So and it has been a tradition under the democratic government that if there is a massive failure, under the ministry, the minister responsible for the ministry should take the moral responsibility and resign. I don't understand why the government always make it in a prestige issue whenever a demand is made to fix for the accountability of the people in governance. Why the government always take it as a prestige issue? Why the government always gives a message that I am not concerned with I'm not concerned with the any concerns being raised by any section of the society. Why there is a tendency that if there is any protest against any government action, everyone who is protesting will be branded as anti-national or at least inconsequential. This is not how the democratic governance work. And this is what exactly we are seeing here. Mr. Sonam Wangchuk was sitting on an hunger strike for last 20 days. And there was not even a murmur on the part of the government to address the concern.
Dr.
So
Mahendra
how
Singh,
sensitive you can be, that's the whole point. And if you show insensitivity, then it turns into the kind of anger that you are seeing on the protest, on the street.
Dr. Mahendra Singh, a lot of this has to do with the way the government has dealt with the protests so far and dealt with the issues so far per se, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. What J.P. Nadda did today, the government should have done it more earlier during the protest. So on the last day, when things were out of control, then engaging with the protesters was a late decision. So the issue is genuine. I can agree. The argument the government and the supporters give that there are many elements who are backing these protests. They are against the Hindutva ideology or right-wing ideology. So, but the issue is real, and the government must understand that the issue affects lakhs of students and their family members. So government must have engaged with the protesters much earlier what they try to do it today. And I think that this examination issue, the job issue is a issue which shakes up lakhs of students. It affects their life. It affects the life of the parents. So the number of suicides which happened after the cancellation of NEET and the new issues which are coming up even with this examination which was conducted as a re-NEET. Even at that point of time, government never admitted that it has made any mistake. It was in a denial mode. So now I think government should respond. Government should try to improve the entire examination pattern, not only NEET but other competitive examination also. As I said earlier, that if you conduct foolproof regular examination, the issue will itself die down. But today, when lakhs of people are changing for few seats, and if you are not able to conduct regular examination, foolproof examination in a very transparent manner, then everybody is thinking that everybody is felt cheated. And that has mobilized people with the help of technology, and the youth has come on the streets of Delhi, and they have blocked the entire central Delhi, and they have marched to Parliament House. So government must recalibrate its strategy. This is not something like farmers' protest or any other form of protest. This is a protest which is directly related to youth, which are more than 20 million in this country. We are the youngest population. So government should have and must have, and even now it is not late, they should engage with the youth leaders and try to improve their examination pattern, try to check these leakages. You have to throw out the private agencies involved in conducting these examinations. So you have to do a course correction if you want to arrest a political damage because of this protest.
The only other thing is that Dr. Mahendra Singh, we have this time around, as you're saying, this protest is unlike any other protest because of the reason why you have a generation, the youngest generation, which so far have not been the most politically active, now becoming extremely politically active. And in that sense, this will be a pivotal moment for not just when it comes to examinations and NEET and re-NEET, but, the education system per se, and more importantly, jobs. We're yet to get to that issue.
Definitely, a lot of changes has been done in education system under the umbrella of new education policy, and this entire, you can say, the student, their parents, they were out of any consultation process. So, and the examination pattern being changed again and again, the syllabus, the courses, the curriculum are being changed again and again. So sometimes you come with a 4-year UG course, sometimes you come with a 1-year PG course, 2-year PG course, this changes. So these frequent changes has generated anxiety among the youth and the failure to not conduct regular examinations. So this has generated anxiety among the youth and their parents. And that is the bigger reason for such a spontaneous protest, because these angers were building up. And the Cockroach Janata Party, they have given a platform which traditional parties failed to do that. And though even Congress and other parties try to engage youth, but on a very ad hoc basis. And Cockroach Janata Party, because that remark was very demeaning, dehumanizing youth. And so it is very unfortunate that we were thumping our chest that we are the youngest nation in the world. This is our demographic dividend. And we have done something which has forced our youth to hit the streets. So the political class needs to rethink, not only the government, but other opposition parties, that why they have failed to voice these concerns, which are visible on the ground and which are visible in every household, which are visible in every school, every university, every college. And they had to come with a solution, and they should think that how to ensure a foolproof, transparent, honest examination system. Not only NEET and all other examinations. The recurrent news of leak, delay in examinations has made these youth restless. And you are right that the youth were being considered that they are not very politically active. They don't go for vote. They don't engage themselves in a political rally and all that. But these issues, when it comes to their career, their life, the political system has forced them to come to street, because at this point of time they had to think about how to make their career. And that was the reason they are not very active in political, you can say, the political mobilization processes. And they try to focus on their career, and that is the reason. But now you have forced them to come on stage and protest, and the result is before everybody, that the youth, which is considered, and as we used to sell that our young population is our biggest asset, what we used to call a demographic dividend. And this is the challenge, that whether we are going to make them a demographic burden or demographic dividend. And the entire political class has to respond to this, and government has a major responsibility.
Gyanendra Mishra, do you think there will be a response to this, an appropriate response to this?
No, I think, as I said, it is in too late, too little, and lacks the honesty of intention.
Okay.
I think it is, as everybody is saying, it's a very, very serious issue that impacts millions and millions of young students. The students are feeling frustrated, they are feeling cheated, Because at the one hand, there is a complete lack of employment in the country. There is surging, the unemployment is surging. And when whatever opportunities are available, the student appear for that and they are again cheated by the system. And when they seek an accountability and correction of the system, the government response is almost nil. And this is where the problem lies. I think government is not appreciating the feeling and anger that is simmering in the young student of this country because of the various level of malaise which has plagued our education system. It was a waking up call for the government. It should have been the waking up call for the government that the entire system needs relook, needs realignment, and there has to be a paradigm shift in terms of generating employment, conducting the examinations in a fair and proper manner so that the people don't feel cheated, people don't feel totally depressed, dejected. And this is exactly what is happening. I think what should have been that even if the Mr. Dharmendra Pradhan does not resign, I think if the government would have, proactively engage with students and other stakeholders at all level, at the first instance, admitting the mistake that yes, there are there are the cracks in the system, there are the slip in the system, and that is why the successive paper leak is happening. We need to correct it, and we are ready to invite and discuss all the stakeholders and then look at the education and the employment as a larger issue. Because if you don't address that today by force, you may quell the agitation today. But the anger will then find its way somewhere in this way or that way to again come on front. So everyone, all of us should really, we should not make it in a political issue or political one-upmanship. I think everyone should come together and address this very burning, very pertinent, very germane issue.
Absolutely. We'll have to leave it at that. Completely out of time here on that conversation. Advocate Gyanendra Mishra and Dr. Mahendra Singh, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us here on Unmissable on News9. And with that, we take a very short breather. Up next on Unmissable, the big debate from Tamil Nadu after the arrest of another DMK MLA. We'll be back with that. Don't go anywhere.
Oh no, बहुत बोर लग रहा है. Take a date, not bites. No added sugar, प्रिजर्वेटिव के बिना. डेट्स, बादाम, पिस्ता, काजू और शहद से तैयार किया गया Lion Dates Nut Bites. Lion Date Nut Bites.
A single street in Belfast, sudden act of violence, and within us, a city was pulled into chaos. What began as a stabbing has now ignited nights of unrest across Northern Ireland. Fresh unrest has erupted in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir with large-scale protests. As the guns fall silent in the Iran war, Donald Trump has opened a new diplomatic front in the West Asia. Not with missiles, not with sanctions, but with a bold demand. Uganda has closed its border with the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo with immediate effect.
You're watching Unmissable. I am Krishna Kumar. Tamil Nadu politics has found a new battleground, and this time it's not just the election stage, it's the police station. A fresh political